Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our English Learning Podcast. I'm Jennifer, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Elizabeth. How are you today, Elizabeth?
Hi, Jennifer. I'm doing great, thank you. Today's topic is one that has sparked a lot of debate over the years. Are genetically modified foods a viable solution? With the world population continuing to grow, climate change threatening food production, and hunger still affecting millions, many people see genetically modified organisms, GMOs, as a potential solution. But there are also concerns about their safety, environmental impact, and the role of big corporations in controlling our food supply. Today, we'll dive into both sides of this issue and explore whether GMOs are truly a sustainable solution.
That's right, Elizabeth. Genetically modified foods have been around for decades, and they've become an essential part of modern agriculture. GMOs are created by altering the DNA of plants or animals to achieve specific traits, like resistance to pests, drought tolerance, or increased nutritional content. Proponents argue that these modifications can help address food insecurity, improve crop yields, and reduce the need for pesticides. However, critics worry about the long-term health effects of GMOs, their impact on biodiversity, and the influence of large agribusinesses that produce them. It's a complex issue with passionate arguments on both sides, and today we're going to break it all down.
Exactly. And for our listeners out there, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Do you think genetically modified foods are a viable solution to global food challenges, or are you concerned about their safety and impact? Share your opinions with us, and we might even feature them in a future episode. So, Jennifer, let's start by discussing the arguments in favor of genetically modified foods. What are some of the key reasons people believe GMOs are a viable solution to global challenges?
Well, Elizabeth, one of the main arguments in favor of GMOs is that they can help address food security by increasing crop yields and making plants more resilient to pests, diseases, and extreme weather conditions. With the global population expected to reach nearly 10 billion by 2050, we're going to need to produce significantly more food to meet the growing demand. Proponents argue that GMOs can help us do that by creating crops that can thrive in challenging environments where traditional crops might fail. For example, genetically modified crops like drought-resistant corn or pest-resistant cotton can reduce the need for water and pesticides, which helps farmers grow more food with fewer resources.
That's such an important point, Jennifer. The idea of food security is at the heart of the argument for GMOs. As climate change continues to disrupt traditional farming practices, genetically modified crops could provide a way to ensure that we can continue to feed the world's population. For example, in regions that are prone to drought or flooding, GMOs that are designed to withstand these conditions could prevent crop failures and help maintain a stable food supply. In this view, GMOs are seen as a lifeline for farmers who are facing increasingly difficult growing conditions.
Exactly, Elizabeth. Another key argument in favor of GMOs is that they can help reduce the use of pesticides and herbicides, which are harmful to the environment. Many genetically modified crops are designed to be resistant to pests or tolerant of certain herbicides, meaning farmers can use fewer chemicals to protect their crops. For example, Bt cotton is a genetically modified crop that produces a natural insecticide, reducing the need for farmers to spray harmful pesticides. By reducing the use of chemicals, GMOs can help protect biodiversity, soil health, and water quality.
Absolutely, Jennifer. Potential to reduce pesticide use is one of the most compelling arguments for GMOs. Pesticides can have serious environmental consequences, including polluting waterways, killing beneficial insects like bees, and harming wildlife. By reducing the need for pesticides, GMOs can help create a more sustainable and environmentally friendly agricultural system. In this view, genetically modified crops are not only a solution to food security but also a way to promote sustainable farming practices.
That's such a great point, Elizabeth. And beyond the environmental benefits, some proponents of GMOs argue that they can help improve nutrition in regions where people suffer from malnutrition. For example, golden rice is a genetically modified variety of rice that has been engineered to contain vitamin A, which is essential for preventing blindness and boosting the immune system. In many developing countries, Vitamin A deficiency is a major health problem, and golden rice has the potential to provide a solution by delivering this crucial nutrient to populations that rely heavily on rice as a staple food.
Exactly, Jennifer. The potential for biofortification, enhancing the nutritional content of crops, is another key benefit of GMOs. In addition to golden rice, researchers are developing genetically modified crops that are rich in iron, zinc, and other essential nutrients. This could help address micronutrient deficiencies that affect millions of people around the world, particularly in developing countries. In this sense, GMOs are seen as a tool for improving public health and ensuring that people have access to nutritious food, even in regions where traditional crops may not provide enough nutrients.
Absolutely, Elizabeth. So, from the perspective of those who support GMOs, the key arguments are that they can help address food security, reduce the use of harmful pesticides and herbicides, and improve nutrition in regions affected by malnutrition. But, of course, not everyone agrees with this approach. Let's now talk about the arguments against genetically modified foods. What are some of the concerns that people have about GMOs?
Well, Jennifer, one of the main concerns about GMOs is the potential for unintended health effects. While many studies have shown that GMOs are safe to eat, some critics worry that we don't fully understand the long-term effects of consuming genetically modified foods. There's concern that altering the DNA of plants could have unforeseen consequences for human health, such as the development of allergies, resistance to antibiotics, or other unknown health risks. Critics argue that we need more long-term research to fully understand the potential risks of GMOs before we can consider them a safe solution.
That's such an important point, Elizabeth. The concern about long-term safety is one of the biggest arguments against GMOs. While there's a broad scientific consensus that GMOs are safe for consumption, there's still a lot of public skepticism. Some people worry that the process of genetic modification could introduce new proteins or allergens into the food supply, which could pose risks to individuals with food allergies or other sensitivities. In this view, GMOs represent a kind of unknown territory when it comes to food safety, and critics argue that we should proceed with caution.
Exactly, Jennifer. Another major concern is the impact of GMOs on the environment. While proponents argue that GMOs can reduce pesticide use, critics point to the fact that some genetically modified crops, like herbicide-tolerant soybeans, have led to the widespread use of glyphosate, a controversial herbicide. Over time, the heavy use of herbicides has led to the emergence of superweeds, weeds that are resistant to glyphosate and require even stronger chemicals to control. This has resulted in a pesticide arms race where farmers are forced to use more and more chemicals which can harm the environment and biodiversity.
Absolutely, Elizabeth. The issue of superweeds is a significant environmental concern. Critics argue that GMOs can contribute to monoculture farming, where large areas of land are planted with a single crop, which can lead to soil degradation, loss of biodiversity, and increased vulnerability to pests and diseases. In this view, GMOs may provide short-term benefits, but they can also have long-term environmental consequences that outweigh those benefits. For example, the widespread planting of genetically modified crops can reduce the diversity of plant species, which can harm ecosystems and disrupt natural processes.
Exactly, Jennifer. And beyond the environmental concerns, there are also ethical and economic arguments against GMOs. Some critics worry about the corporate control of the food supply, particularly by large agribusinesses like Monsanto, now part of Bayer, which hold patents on many genetically modified seeds. Farmers who use these seeds often have to sign agreements that prevent them from saving or replanting the seeds, which can lead to dependence on seed companies and increased costs for farmers. Critics argue that this gives too much power to a small number of corporations and reduces food sovereignty for farmers.
That's such a great point, Elizabeth. The issue of corporate control is a major concern for many people who are opposed to GMOs. They argue that the patenting of genetically modified seeds gives too much power to large companies, which can control the supply of seeds and monopolize the agricultural industry. This can lead to higher costs for farmers, particularly small-scale farmers in developing countries, who may not be able to afford the expensive genetically modified seeds and the herbicides that go with them. In this view, GMOs can exacerbate inequality in the global food system.
Absolutely, Jennifer. So, from the perspective of those who oppose GMOs, the key concerns are the potential health risks, the environmental impact of herbicides and monoculture farming, and the ethical issues surrounding corporate control of the food supply. As we can see, there are strong arguments on both sides of this debate.
Absolutely, Elizabeth. And speaking of different perspectives, I think it's a great time to hear from one of our listeners. Let's take a call from someone who might have an interesting perspective on whether genetically modified foods are a viable solution. Hi there, you're on the air with Jennifer and Elizabeth. What's your name, and where are you calling from?
Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Elizabeth. My name is Maria, and I'm calling from Sao Paulo, Brazil. I've been listening to your podcast for a while now, and I love today's topic. I wanted to share my thoughts because I work in agriculture, and I've seen both the benefits and the challenges of using genetically modified crops.
Hi, Maria. Thank you so much for calling in. We'd love to hear more about your experience. How do you see the balance between the benefits of GMOs and the concerns about their environmental and economic impact?
Well, I think it's a difficult balance. On one hand, I've seen how genetically modified crops can improve yields and help farmers deal with pests and drought. For many farmers in Brazil, GMOs have been a lifeline, allowing them to grow more food and make a living. But at the same time, I'm concerned about the environmental impact, especially the overuse of herbicides and the loss of biodiversity. I think we need to be careful about how we use GMOs and make sure we're not causing more harm in the long run.
That's such a valuable perspective, Maria. It sounds like you've seen both the short-term benefits and the long-term challenges of using GMOs. Do you think there's a way to balance the benefits of GMOs with a need to protect the environment and ensure that farmers have access to affordable seeds?
I think it's possible, but it requires responsible use and strong regulations. We need to make sure that GMOs are used in a way that promotes sustainability, and we also need to make sure that farmers aren't exploited by big corporations. It's important to focus on the social and environmental aspects, not just the economic benefits.
That's such great insight, Maria. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us.
Thanks for having me. I love listening to your podcast, and I'm excited to hear more episodes.
Thanks so much for calling in, Maria. Take care.
Bye, Maria.
That was a great call from Maria. She really highlighted the importance of balancing the benefits of GMOs with a need for responsible use and environmental protection.
Absolutely, Jennifer. And for those of you listening, if you're enjoying our podcast, please like and subscribe to our channel. Your support really helps us keep creating these episodes and sharing more interesting topics with you.
So, where does that leave us in our discussion today? I think it's clear that genetically modified foods are a complex issue with both promises and challenges. On one hand, GMOs have the potential to improve food security, reduce pesticide use, and address malnutrition. On the other hand, there are concerns about the long-term health effects, environmental impact, and corporate control of the food supply.
Exactly, Jennifer. Key takeaway is that GMOs are not a one-size-fits-all solution, and any decision to use them should be made carefully with a focus on sustainability, safety, and equity. Genetically modified foods can be a part of the solution to global food challenges, but they need to be used in a way that protects both people and the planet.
We hope today's discussion has given you some new insights into the question of whether genetically modified foods are a viable solution. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for listening. We're always here to share new insights and help you learn English while exploring important topics like this one. Keep listening, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye for now, everyone. And remember, the future of food is a shared responsibility, and thoughtful decisions about technologies like GMOs can help shape a more sustainable world.